Yo, what's good? Welcome to Observing the Process. Before we start, I'm hoping you can help me out by supporting the show. You can rate and review it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, discuss it on your own podcast, or you can support it directly. You can do this by going to my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description. On there, you will find subscriber-only content, like my Ask Me Anything episodes, videos and photos from Shanghai Observed I can't post on Instagram, as well as the bonus questions from many of these interviews. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. Today on the podcast, I have Dan Agha-Rafei. Dan is actually one of the first people I met here in Shanghai in the video production world. He's a very talented director of photography. I've gotten to hang out with him a bunch over the years, sharing our ups and downs, learnings, and all that in the video production world. It's been great to have him here. He's moving to London, so I had to get him on the show. We're going to miss you, Dan. Without further ado, please give it up for Dan Agha-Rafei.
In the land of China, people hardly got nothing at all.
No possessions?
And in China, they never go to church.
No religion too?
Or do magic.
Well, it's easy if you try, Dick.
2, 1. Okay, we're live. Dan, so this is it. This is a wrap for China, man. You're leaving pretty soon.
Indeed, man. Yeah, it's quite wild. I'm really glad you invited me to come talk before I left. It's nice to kind of, recap, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything that's happened over the last 10 years. It's been
10 years.
pretty much, yeah. I landed in August 2009. I took a half a year out shortly after that. But yeah, more or less 10 years, pretty much my whole adult life.
What brought you to China in the first place?
It's not an interesting story, to be frank. I finished university like in 2009. It was like just as the financial crash happened.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So throughout uni, everyone around was saying it's going to be super difficult for anyone, especially with an arts degree, like a humanities degree or whatever, to find work in a really sparse job market. So when that's kind of going through your head, you're thinking, I need to think of options. And China came up just in my second year of uni. Some dude did a talk in one of my lectures about traveling abroad and employment options abroad. And China just seemed the most kind of wild, I guess, or just the most, random, if anything. Talked about Latin America, talked about other places in Europe, but more like emerging markets. And China, just because of my lack of knowledge of China is probably why I came, actually.
Yeah, for me, I had no interest in coming to China. It was more like I had friends who were here and I knew the skate scene was really cool.
Nice.
So I just kind of jumped on over. What did you do when you first got here? What was your first?
The classic teaching English job.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. I did, I worked in a city called Jiaxing, which is kind of like...
Oh, so Shanghai wasn't your first city?
No, it wasn't. I landed in Shanghai, stayed here for like a week. So I wanted to get a job before I flew out. And I didn't know how easy it was going to be to get a job in Shanghai. So I started going through recruitment agencies. And my good friend now, actually, a guy called John Woodbury had a recruitment company. And he sold me on Jiaxing. And he was like,
where is Jiaxing?
It's like an hour away from Shanghai. It's like southwest of Shanghai.
Wow, that's so annoying. It's like just far enough away that it's not convenient to come in and chill. And oh man, yeah.
Some people do commute from Jiaxing. Like a few Chinese people do
really
work, because now it's only 30 minutes on the fast train.
Oh, okay.
But at the time, it was an hour. Yeah, but no, you're right, man. Like the first weekend, I came for a week, but I was hanging out with this dude John Woodbury and his crowd. And they were super cool, but they were well off. I literally had 3,000 kwai in my pocket when I came. A classic immigrant story. And so they were going out and eating for like 300 kwai a meal. So I was like, can't really do that, guy.
300 kwai a meal?
Yeah, exactly. Like
10 years ago?
Yeah, 10 years ago.
That's expensive even today, kind of,
They were balling out, man. They were all like in their like kind of, I guess they were like our age now, maybe a little bit older, but Right. And they all have like quite high flying expat jobs.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So they were loving it, living the bougie life. So, I didn't really experience Shanghai in that first week, but my first weekend, I knew a bunch of like kids my age who were going to university here. They were like friends of friends from my university. And then one weekend I went to shelter
Oh,
And
really?
then, yeah,
that was your introduction to Shanghai.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And like, kind of was like, I need to get the fuck out of Jiaxing, basically.
So how long did Jiaxing last?
3 months.
Oh, 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least you got out quick, because a lot of people, I find they kind of have a bad China first experience, and they're just like, I got to get out of China. They don't give like a different, avenue of what could be possible.
Yeah, no, I feel sorry for people who like work and live in like Harbin or like, what I mean, like random provinces because their companies take them there. It sounds like a bit of a bummer to me. Like I'm sure there's a lot of benefits from doing it. I'm sure financial benefits are great. But it just kind of feels like you're wasting the China experience, or even you're wasting your.
Well, I don't know. I would actually not disagree, but my perspective is that Shanghai isn't actually China.
Yeah.
So
that's
I feel like Shanghai is just a very international city, and maybe the true China experience is working in one of these not like top tier 1 cities. Like there are top tier cities like, Beijing is tier 1. Even, do you know if Chengdu is considered tier 1
I don't
now?
think so, man. I think it's just Shanghai, Beijing, maybe Chongqing, but I'm not sure.
Sometimes they even say like Tianjin is high up there. I don't know. It's just all depends on your perspective. I think if you ask a foreigner, an expat, like they're not going to say Tianjin is a top tier city, but to a local Chinese, just a Chinese national in general, they're going to be like, oh, Tianjin, yeah, that's a big city. That's like as good as it gets.
Yeah, fair enough.
I find that interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that like to an extent we're living a bubbled lifestyle, or not even lifestyle. We're kind of guarded from the nitty gritty of China.
Definitely.
But I guess we're at the forefront of the China experience is my kind of opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is kind of, maybe Shanghai is not a perfect example because it is very expat influenced and it's been an international city for centuries, I guess. But, I assume this is the ambassador of China, right? This is kind of what they want.
That's a good way to look at it. I like that perspective that maybe we're living in the future of what the rest of China will be.
Yeah.
That's fine. So maybe it's like an evolution, like what we're going to see in the future.
Maybe, yeah. I guess that's why they're cleaning up the streets now. You know what I mean? Like scooters are kind of getting more, like the road rules are getting stricter. Yeah. People are getting ticketed for jaywalking and stuff. So I really think that, they're trying to make there is a concerted effort to kind of smarten up Shanghai so that it kind of appeals to everyone and makes, puts China in the best light as possible. Because it must be kind of jarring coming here when you first see and you see like the wildness of it. It's like quite a dichotomy, isn't it? You have like these huge financial districts and technology is like at the forefront in China, but then you have dudes in like these busted old tricycles kind of carting along a bunch of trash and what have you. Like, so I do feel like we are living in the area of China where they want to make the best kind of thing. Maybe I'm wrong. That's kind of my biased opinion of Shanghai.
Yeah, I really like the contrast of the city where you, as you just said, like the high-rise buildings and then the people riding on trikes. What was your first perspective in terms of, where were you living before this? London or?
No, actually I was in Bristol, which is like a university town in the west of England.
Okay.
And yeah, but before that I grew up in London. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just comparing Shanghai to London, like did you feel like they were, in the future? What were your thoughts and feelings on?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely felt futuristic when you land and then you go down the Gaojiao, right? And it's got like I landed at like 9 p.m. or something. Mm-hmm. So I had like the city lights and like the blue strip. It was on a Friday, so the blue strip on Yan'anlu. And I was like, whoa, like it reminded me of a bunch of like futuristic Japanese video games that I used to play kind of thing. So in that sense, it felt like the future. I felt like I was in an anime straight away, which was dope. But then you kind of, then you get to like the street level and then, it feels a little bit less kind of developed than London. Do you know what I mean? Like people are a bit more kind of, well, I guess it's just society's different, right? Like in England, people keep to themselves a lot, or, there's less hustle and bustle, even though London is a busy city. Shanghai is a lot more hustle and bustle.
Right.
Yeah, that was the main contrast. What I did notice though was this is in the expat community. I need to caveat that. I had very limited contact with Chinese people when I first moved here, to be frank, or moved to Shanghai after Jiaxing. what I did notice was that people were like much more entrepreneurial and much more kind of, excited about what they were doing compared to London, where like the drudgery of like day to day and living for the weekend is still very much a thing. Whereas in Shanghai, it's like the opposite. People buzz off going to work and really buzz off what they're doing. I guess in our circles anyway, like, you know what I mean? I don't know many people starting podcasts in London, for example. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's strange. I think there's something about living in a city in general that will drive you to be more like of a busy, not necessarily a busybody, but push yourself to work harder. Maybe it's because you just see it around you all the time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because, and also things are happening, like restaurants are shooting up, like people are starting restaurants, people are starting their own companies in general. Like,
yeah.
So it's hard. It'd be quite disheartening not being a go-getter. You'd feel a bit like a layabout, even if you were just doing a regular job. That's kind of why I got out of teaching. Not that I have anything against teaching at all. I really enjoyed it when I was doing it, but it did feel like I wasn't pushing myself as much as a lot of people I was hanging out with. Like everyone was either trying new things or just doing really well in their careers, and I was kind of plodding away, just having a great lifestyle, but really not challenging myself.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite kind of elements of Shanghai that I can take home is that,
right.
You know, if you push yourself and you kind of see how far you can take yourself, it's really rewarding. Well, I don't know if I'd get that if I stayed in London.
Right. Something that I've been thinking a lot about recently is, and I've kind of come to my own conclusion, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like, so following your own dream. We were just talking about living in Shanghai and how a lot of people are chasing after their own dream, which is really cool and really great. But something I've found is that if I'm successful, I don't take the time to celebrate that success. And in my mind, like I'm already on to the next success of what I want to get. So I've been trying to like be more happy with my like little successes. And I'm just curious, like, do you feel the same way? Do you think that, because it's almost a never ending cycle. It's like you can get endless amounts of money. There are people that are so rich and they still want more money. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you feel the same way, like, especially in today when it's so easy to compare yourself to other people and see their successes. Like yesterday I did a TV commercial for, like, I was a skateboarder in a TV commercial. Right. And today I'm like, I've already got to think about the next thing. But like, if I had told myself that 10 years ago, like you're going to be in a TV commercial as a skateboarder, or no, probably when I'm a kid, I'm like, what? That's crazy. That's awesome. That's like the best thing that could ever happen. Yeah. But now, as I'm able to compare myself more to other people, the success gets diluted into almost nothing. And that's such a negative way to live, and like an unhealthy way to live. Yeah. So man, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I'm in exactly the same boat. I mean, like, I fucking hate Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Like seeing like people who are in the same business as me, like just crushing it. And you should feel happy. You should feel inspired, but I don't. Like, I'm like, fuck that guy.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
So it's like really hard to, take stock and be like, you know, I killed it that time. And even if you do kind of do, like, speaking of like, of our industry, right? And if you do a project which is good and is well received by the client and it's by all measure a success, I still focus on what I messed up on. Like, and even then, like it's very difficult to celebrate like how much you've achieved, or even by a case basis, like how well you've done. So, I mean, I don't really have, the only positive I get out of that is like a few months after or even a year after, I can look back on a project and be like, hey, shit, that was pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? Like that wasn't as bad as I thought. The mistakes are by no way overshadow the successes and the kind of positives of those projects. So yeah, it takes me a while to really like contently look at my work. Yeah. It's quite bad. It's quite damaging. Like I have to thank my wife for being so positive about everything. And she really does kind of boost my spirits when I'm down about stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to motivate myself to kind of be contented. But then maybe being contented isn't like a positive thing either. Maybe being hungry is good.
Yeah, I guess it's about finding the balance, because it's like just what I think is, yes, it's good to be hungry. That will drive you to be more successful and work harder. But for your mental health, you got to take a break sometimes.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you like have trouble taking breaks, or do you take breaks from work? Or
I take breaks when I'm not working, but then they become ultimately frustrating because I'm on Instagram. Like,
so
seeing fucking people working.
There has to be a way to take our focus off of other people's, what they're doing?
Yeah.
Like, how do we, I don't know. That's something that I'm still always trying to figure out. And maybe it's about spending less time on social media, learning how to consume the content in a healthy way. Yeah,
it's like, there's two sides of the coin, right? Because I do get inspiration from Instagram. Like I'm constantly like saving people's images as like references for like color palettes or like, do you know what I mean? Just kind of like camera movement or, whatever. Like I do use it as a tool for research and for inspiration. But then these are mostly people who I don't know. When it's like, it's horrible to say, but it's true. Like if someone I know who I'm competing with or, it's competing. Like if someone I'm competing with, like, I'm happy for them in a sense. And when I see them, I'm like, yo, you crushed it. Well done. But when I'm sitting on the toilet, when I'm reading the Instagram, I feel like in your gut, you feel this feeling of like, damn it. Like, I was too dope for it. Like, I want to nail that kind of thing. So like, I don't know how, like, I don't want to delete social media. I still want to be part of it. Like, but yeah, I don't know how to manage it. I guess maybe like actually talking to these people, because that animosity disappears as soon as you see someone face to face and you're like, oh no, it's my buddy.
You're just a person too.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've loved that about doing this podcast. It's been it's social media, so I'm posting to social media, but I have to be face to face to do these experiences. Right. I refuse to do Skype calls for podcasts. Like that's, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in just creating content for the sake of creating content. I truly enjoy coming together, turning off the phones for an hour, and then having like a well conversation. I want to jump into you as a professional. Yeah. So you were here in China, and you're teaching English, you get to Shanghai. At what point do you start doing video production?
Yeah, so that happened in 2012. So at that stage, I'd been here for like 2.5 years proper, and was sick and tired of teaching kind of thing. And I was in this like liminal moment where like I either go back to England and I had to figure out my career, but my first choice was like, do I do England? Do I do Shanghai? And what are the different options in both cities? So I went back to England, went back to London. My older brother works as a career first AC, so he's a focus puller.
Oh, okay.
So I went on set with him and I was his trainee and his second AC for 3 months. And that's when I kind of fell in love with the industry, just being on set, and like kind of like being part of a production that creates kind of dope images and dope stories. And that whole freelance life as well was really appealing at the time. I was living with my brother. He was like, we were going out drinking on a fucking Tuesday or whatever, and then like working, and then, kind of being your own boss was really cool. But at the same time, I knew Joycey, I knew Jonathan Lim from Push, and I knew a bunch of other producers here. So I did have contact with the industry whilst I was teaching, not really ever considering working in it. But then I kind of phoned them up and I was like, hey, so I'm kind of into video production now. What do you recommend? Do you recommend I do the AC route either in London or Shanghai, or, what do you think? And they were like, dude, buy a 5D, come to China.
Buy a 5D and come to China.
To China and you'll get work. Yeah. If not, do it, like train yourself with your equipment and then work on our shoots as like a trainee or an AC or, whatever. Very similar to what you were doing when you first started. Just kind of hanging around on their shoots.
That's exactly what I did.
Figuring it out. So that's what I did. And then I teamed up with my best friend, one of my best friends in Shanghai, Kian, who was doing the same thing. He was also teaching. He'd done a bunch of video work when he was living in Thailand, which was just as a hobby, but he wanted to pursue that as a career. And so I bought a 5D, he bought a Hackintosh. And then we started making videos for anyone who wanted it, man. Like our first one was for Sumerian Coffee. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, man. So back when Dave Saminsky and a guy called Adam McLean were opening in that shop, they wanted some promotional content, right? And then they paid for all our gear, and then we made them a video. I'm still super proud of that video. It was the first thing we didn't get paid. But off the back of that, like, once we made that video, once they paid for the gear and then it looked professional, jobs came flying in, like just from startups, like little kind of Kickstarter-esque videos. So that was in 2013. And then kind of started working more and more with Jonathan. And then he started getting work with Vice. So the production just steadily got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think I met you like in 2015, was it?
Yep. I got here in 2015 and I taught for a year and then taught skateboarding for a year.
Yeah, right.
And then I did the same thing as you just said. I was teaching English, and my plan was to teach English on the weekends, and then Monday through Friday I'm free to hustle.
Yeah.
And I would just work for free Monday through Friday, video production, do anything I could for free, or, you know, get paid whatever to get experience. Yeah. And then eventually it turned into like a part-time job at Push, and then eventually a full-time job at Push. And then, you know, now I've blossomed into doing like whatever I want to do. Kind of just like freelance life. So yeah, let's jump into that a little bit. Freelance life versus full-time job.
Sure. Yeah.
So what was your first full-time job in video production?
In video production was working for Vice. Yeah. So they took me on as like a DP editor for their commercial work. So I was making videos for like Budweiser, NBA, BMW, Tencent, very kind of corporate stuff in the sense that it was an Vice material, like the Vice we know and love.
Yep.
But yeah, I was in there, you know, Monday to Friday at least, probably on weekends as well, if need be. And I'd come from being a freelancer for two and a half years. So it's hard to say with Vice, because Vice is a very laid back company. Sure. When I was there anyway. Like if you weren't working and you were in the office, you were kind of chilling, playing FIFA. Just, like,
I would come down. So background people who are listening, like the Push office was just above, like maybe 10 stories above the Vice office.
Yeah.
And we would come down every now and then to like swap a hard drive or say what's up. We'd come down there and they're just playing FIFA. Like, do you guys do any work?
Yeah, no, it was like, it was project based, but yeah, man, we spent a lot of time on video games. Yeah. It was research for Tencent Gaming is what we used to say. But no, like we were homies, do you know what I mean? So it was cool. Like I really liked working at Vice because when we weren't stressing out and trying to hit deadlines, we were hanging out and we genuinely enjoyed everyone's company. Like it was a really nice little family. So that was great. And if you do work in a company where that's the case, then it's great. It's better than hanging out at home when you have downtime and like, you know, your biggest achievement that day is you did your laundry or something, which was definitely a thing for me when I was freelance. Sometimes I'd be like just phoning people up and disturbing them, being like, "Yeah, what's up? No, got nothing to do today. Oh, you're busy. Oh, of course you are, because you're a professional.
You have a job."
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely better. But having said that, like I did get complacent. I think that's the major drawback of being in a company is you're more often than not given work. And then you have to make the best of that work rather than like going out and looking for stuff. And like, you know, when you have a lead, when you're freelance, you chase it and you like, you know, you want to get your teeth into it and you want to nail it because that's your next job is dependent on your last job very much.
Definitely.
So like that doesn't happen when you're in-house, right? You just kind of, if you screw up a job and one job's a dud, like you're not, you know, you can see jobs going awry while you're doing them, right? Like, do you know what I mean? So when that's happening, you know, if it's not your fault and you're in-house, you're like, it ain't my fault. But if you're freelance and you need that video to be good, like you'll do your best to try and like salvage whatever shipwreck is coming, you know? You'll anticipate the problems and you'll try and solve them. Whereas if you're in-house, not to say that's not the case all the time, but a lot of the time, you know, if you see things going wrong, you're like, hey, I can see this going south. Yeah. You take a step back. I took a step back sometime. I'm happy to like hold my hands up high and admit that. Because like you're not going to get fired and then you just bide your time until a killer job comes your way. So that was my experience and those are kind of the pros and cons I have with in-house versus freelance.
Speaking of jobs going awry, kind of want to talk about maybe failure and what you can learn from failure. Do you have any experience that you could share that you would consider a failure, but you learned a lot from it?
Yeah, man, like a bunch. The most recent job I thought was a huge failure was I did a job for Push and Red Bull last year. And it was kind of my first big directorial job having left Vice. So it's a big deal. Like I missed one of my best friend's wedding to do it. Right. It was super like there was very few resources as well. It was basically me. I produced it. I directed it. I DP'd half of it. So I took a lot of like responsibilities on, which I shouldn't have done. I should have kind of been a bit more. I should have predicted the setbacks before I kind of jumped headlong in to like make it happen. And yeah, it didn't go well. I took on too much work, and then as a result, stuff started to fall through the cracks, and like the production didn't go half as well as I thought, as I wanted it to. I didn't get on with the talent. We really didn't get on, and a lot of the interviews broke down. A lot of the scenes broke down. My plan though was to kind of scatterbomb the whole thing. So I was with them for 2 weeks, and I just kind of got as much content as I could during that 2 weeks.
Right.
So, and then I made the project and I finished it, and then the client was happy. Red Bull was stoked about it, and even Push were like, "This is a good project." But because I had so many issues going through it, I only now am I looking back on it, seeing the learning, like the learning experiences I gathered from it. So I mean, like I learned just not to take on too much, right? Like just to really try and get as much support as you can as a director, and not be a one-man band. Like that doesn't exist really when you get to a certain level
Definitely.
of production. But that was a really hard pill to swallow. And I've only now recently come to terms with it. Like, and I've actually got a job off the back of that job. Like I showed that job to another client recently, and they loved it. Yeah. And now I've got a job in London based off of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was a learning experience that don't take, like we were talking about before, getting disheartened and like kind of not being able to like count your blessings, or not being able to kind of see the benefits in what you've done. That was a really key example of that. Yeah. So that was a learning experience for sure. But I had a bunch, mate, like a loads of setbacks that I've had to kind of come back from. I think it's like 50-50 in a project. Like either you smash it or you don't. Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I remember when you were going through that, it was like we were talking about questioning your ability and your skill as a creative. Like, and I related the same way. Sometimes when you're in the thick of it, when it's really tough and you just kind of look down on everything, it's hard to look at the positives. Do you have a way of dealing with your stress when that kind of stuff is happening, or?
Yeah. When you're in the thick of it, it's super hard. Hey, I've again, from that experience, what I learned not to do was don't try and solve it by yourself. Like what I did during those times, like it was like 2 days before a shoot, we'd have like this scene planned, and the talent disagrees with what I'm doing, so I have to think of another angle. And what I would do is just kind of burrow myself away at home and like try and hash out an idea. Whereas like I feel like the best thing to do is talk to other people, like really try and like draw on your resources of other creatives to be like, look, I've got this problem. Or even just kind of drawing inspiration from other stuff, like go listen to a podcast, go walk around, read a book if that's what you do. Don't just try and zone in on what your problem is and try and solve it in your own head, because that will just end up with you going crazy.
Definitely. For me, something I've learned recently is like sometimes problems just need time. There is no solution. There is no solution sometimes. And even if I want to solve a problem within 30 minutes or 15 minutes and make it go away, it's not possible. Sometimes you have to let the thing fade away and kind of like take a couple days, sleep on. That's why they say sleep on it. You have to sleep on some things, like over time, the problem becomes less of a problem, and it's not the end of the world. Recently, I've been looking up a lot of stuff on Stoicism. I don't know if you're familiar with Stoicism, but it's like a philosophy, and it's not like a philosophy. It is a philosophy, and the core fundamentals of it is that you can't. There's two things. There's two like externals. There's two realities. There's the external reality, and then there's a reality that's like inside you. Right. And you cannot control the external reality. There's nothing you can do. So just don't worry about it. Right. But you can control how you respond to external reality. And I found that it's helped me so much. Just be like yesterday I lost my keys, and I'm like, okay, I could freak out and go crazy, or I can just like kind of take a moment and, kind of just go slowly around the place that I lost them. And eventually there was an assistant on the shoot, and he started to look for them as I was like doing my job. Yeah. And I forgot about it. And then an hour later he comes back like, oh yeah, I found them. Like the bow on had them because I left them in my scooter. Nice. So it's like, I could have freaked out, but it was one of the first times that I really didn't. I just decided like whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sorted itself out. So it's
just sorted itself out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a definite skill to kind of, letting your emotions kind of subside before you kind of physically act on something. You know what I mean? That's super hard. Like if you feel a certain way, anger or frustration or fear or whatever, to kind of internalize that and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to physically show those emotions, not for like other people's benefits, for your own kind of like dealing with your own emotions, right? Dealing with your own stresses. And that's something I'm trying to learn too. I mean, yeah, stoicism is, I guess, one way of putting it, but in general, just being in control, having like, having time to like cool down, basically. It's super hard, and I guess we have similar like characteristics like that, like getting pissed off and throwing a tantrum. Like I do that all the time, and it's only in my 30s that I really started to like kind of like realize that that's really hurting myself more, as well as my reputation, or not my reputation, the others around me who are influenced by it. And that's one thing, but the more important thing is like, you know, your own blood pressure or whatever.
Your own mental health. No, for me, I've been looking at it the same way. Like it's super important to take care of your mental health and be calm throughout the day. If I'm spending my whole day being so upset about one little problem, it affects so much, and it's just not worth it. Yeah, it's just not worth it.
It's easier said than done, but yeah, no, for sure. I'm on the same train. I'm trying to like just let it go, you know.
Before we started the show, you said you had a story to share about video. I wanted to talk about like just video production stories in China.
Yeah, so this was a fun old shoot. I got this job from Huawei. I was DPing, and they flew this director in from England, and it was a project which was for Huawei, but it was going to be released in the European market. And when we were doing the briefing, they were like, okay, so we're shooting in a place called Little Italy in Guangzhou, and we need to make sure it doesn't look like China. And I was like, what, excuse me? And they were like, yeah, it's only released in Italy. So we've got a full foreign cast, and then, we're going to build up Little Italy to make it look like Europe. But the thing is, it wasn't like this small TVC thing where there's like 4 talent or whatever. It was supposed to be this like viral video where this host kind of approaches people on the street at random. Obviously it's all staged, but it was supposed to seem like, so we had to get like 2 buses full of foreigners like from Guangzhou to go to Little Italy and like have them mill about in this place. And there was like Chinese signage everywhere, and like the whole like art department came in and just took the whole day to build this like setup. And it just blew my mind at like how much effort was put in and how much resources they used, rather than just going to like, do you know what I mean? They had a European director anyway. Like, why not just go to Europe and do the same thing? Like, but like, I guess it just shows how cost effective resources are here.
You think it was more cost effective somehow?
It must have been, right? Otherwise, why would it was a ball ache doing that? Do you know what I mean? Like, because also we didn't lock down Little Italy; it was still open to the public.
Really?
So there was like Chinese lads in the background, and the director was stressing when the Chinese person would like walk in the frame, and I was like, "Dude, there's Asian people in Europe too.
You can have some. Yeah, it's all good. A couple.
Like, but no, the client was super specific. Like, no Chinese faces in this ad, and it was like, why the fuck are you in China then? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that just cracked me up that we that was the case. And I'm sure people have wild stories like that in terms of productions, just how much resources go into certain production set just because it's cheaper.
Yeah, it always blows my mind how much money they're spending on shoots and stuff like that. Like we did this Nike. I just did the video production for it, but Edison Chen was like running in Suzhou, and you know the globe that they use in Suzhou, and it's also a projector screen. So they put like a projector on, like a LED screen on top of it, and basically they're projecting him like running on a treadmill, and then he shows up on top of the world, on top of the globe, and it looks like he's running on the world because they project the world on it.
Yeah, right.
And dude, they must have spent so much money. And what ended up happening is they paid under the table to use the space or something. And the cops came and shut it down because there was just so many people.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God. It was just like I'm in there, and then the cops run in like plainclothes people and just drag Edison Chen out of the box that they have built.
How did he react to that? Because
he just went with it. He's like, I'm done. He knows he's going to get paid either way. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
money in this industry blows my mind sometimes. In Shanghai in general, I think money just plays such a big role in the way people go about business and creative, and it's so strange to look at that the way it is. Do you think it's going to be the same when you go back to London?
No, it's not. I know for a fact it's not. Like, you know what I mean? So that's scary. Like, you know, the amount of money that goes into digital advertising here is huge. Because there's, you know, 1.4 billion people for one. Secondly, like they also like consuming video content on your phone is
on the rise.
Yeah, well, like in China, it's the main source of video consumption, whereas back home, it's not. Like people still watch TV, right?
Right.
Like, so, or like use their computers. They're less kind of zoned into their phones like they are in Asia or in China specifically. So that kind of mid-budget resource pool of like clients and advertising agencies and production companies that do that, specifically that WeChat kind of production, they don't exist in London. Like there are a few, there's like a few little small digital campaigns, but that mid-level stuff is more reserved for super corporate stuff rather than doing a Nike spot.
So
like,
did you say you have a job lined up for you?
Yeah, luckily, but it's for a Singaporean brand.
Is
So
it a freelance job, like a one-time thing?
It's through Push. It's through Push. It hasn't been greenlit yet, so I'm a bit reluctant to talk about it, but
right.
I'm sure it will happen.
Don't want to hex it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
know
like,
what you mean. I hate that.
Christian's pretty like we had a phone call yesterday and he was like, it's done. Like the client is like super psyched about it. They love the video, the new shoe video that I shot. And they and sorry, excuse me.
All good.
And yeah, and so it's for ID Singapore and it's for a Chinese brand behind it. And yeah, that's going to be wicked because if I do that, then I'm going to meet producers there and like probably the ID people in London as well. And then I'll hit the ground running. I was expecting to go back to London, sort out my website, sort out like
housekeeping stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of because I've been quite blessed in China with the people that I know that my work has come from like word of mouth.
That makes me reluctant to move out too. I just feel like I'm so established here.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like
it's going to be hard to.
There's no phone calls from like your buddies being like, "Yo, I've got to shoot." Like, there's no buddies out there.
Yeah, you have to start over.
Yeah, exactly.
That was something I wanted to talk to you about, like spending most of your adult life in China.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? You like that's a strange realization to come to. Like, damn, I've been in. Most of my adult life is in China versus like your home country.
Like the kind of the serious adult life, right? So before that, I was at university, which isn't really adulthood. You know what I mean? You're still kind of, you still have the safety net of like studying and student loans or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas my whole kind of fending for myself has happened in Asia, in China. So yeah, I had that realization recently when I was like, wait, am I going to be able to adapt to England? Like that, you know, I'm sure I will. I'm English, so I can communicate well. I'm hoping what it will be is because things are a bit more kind of haphazard here, that maybe I'll have gone through the school of hard knocks and I'll be like really prepared for, you know, like anything.
It'll just be cushy back home.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone's going to be like, you know, kind of super organized about everything. Not that people aren't organized here, but I do think things are last minute here quite a lot. And problem solving is a big thing here. Like, you know, things you can problem solve more easily here. You can't quite do a hard drive to London. In London, like there's no quite do. Like if something goes awry, you can't just like phone someone up or send a kid to run around. Like there are no kids around who are working for. Well, there are, but like not as many or whatever.
No. China is extremely convenient. It's beyond convenient. It's surprising how like the types of services they have in Shanghai.
Yeah, exactly,
like
right.
when they have Kuaidi or like you go, I think they're at the forefront of convenience in a sense. Yeah. WeChat Pay and, you know, even like they have like mobile chargers stations, you know, kind of just like chilling in the restaurants now. You like go up and get a brick, like scan it and go and bring it to your, so many things. Like the other day I've seen shared umbrella services in the metro.
Yeah, we could use that in London for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys are a lot more rainy.
Yeah, mate. It's like
super rainy.
The seasons are like rainy and warm, rainy and cold. Those are like, that's basically how it works.
Right. Something I was curious about is when you're going back to London, like how do you know it's time as an expat? Like, do you feel like you can check off the box of China and like it's time for me to go back to my home country or somewhere new? Like, just for in terms of advice of other expats, maybe debating internally for themselves, like, is it time for me to leave China?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, so my wife made the final decision to do it. So the tip is, if your wife says she wants to leave, you need to leave.
Yeah.
But no, I think I've been like thinking about it a lot, and at some point it's going to get difficult to reestablish yourself somewhere. That might be pessimistic, or that might be putting too much onus on age and the way people judge you for being a 40-year-old director versus a 30-year-old director, which is something I consider, at least. So for me, this is the latest. I've left it the latest I could, I reckon, before I need to go back, start a new network, start going out there, start meeting people. If you're older and you have a child, you're not going to have as much time to like go out and network and go for a drink and go to this party or go to this event. Like, you've got responsibilities that you need to take care of. So you might have to like sacrifice doing that and like get maybe a steady job or kind of, be less available.
Yeah.
So for sure, I think that's the major reason why, as soon as Sophie mentioned it, as soon as she was like, yo, I want to move back, I kind of took a moment and I was like, do you know what? Yeah, it's probably best that we do move back, because otherwise I'm going to just be stuck in China. Not stuck in China, but like, not be able to do what I love doing. It back home,
sometimes you need a little push to start the new chapter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because every year, for a lot of people, including myself, it's like, is it time to go back? Is it time to leave China? And you never really know. So I think having that external force is only good. And I think it could be a good move.
I think for a lot of people, it is an external force. There's always something that happens. Like, everyone that I know has moved, like, either it's a job opportunity that they've just been back home or been to another place and an opportunity has arisen. And then I don't know anyone who's just been like, you know what? I feel like it's time. Actually, I don't know anyone who that's been the case for. It's always been an external force that's taken people from Shanghai. Because why would you leave Shanghai? It's like, it's really like, it's the best place I've experienced for people's careers.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And like you said, the convenience of it is awesome. Like, I'm not taking taxis when I get back to England. Like,
just
you know what I mean?
Expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's superficial. Just in general, life seems to be going forward at a much quicker pace here than it does in many other places. So, why would you leave unless something was dragging you away, kind of thing? So I think that's when is when like you see, a better opportunity somewhere else, basically. Or something negative happens and there's like a tragedy somewhere. That's another reason, but that's not worth talking about.
Yeah, for me, something that stuck out for your experience and mine is access to brands that you just would not have in other countries like New York or London, like starting up. Yeah. For me, when I started working at Push, I mean, my first shoot was like on a Jordan brand and shoot. And then you were talking about BMW and Budweiser. Yeah. It's incredible, the types of brands that you have access to out here.
Dude, for a whole year at Vice, man, I was just chilling with NBA players. That's what me and Ray was doing. Ray Fu, who was my producer at Vice. Our major client, that they brought me on to mostly be on the NBA account. And we just go, and when the NBA players came to China during the off season, we'd go and interview them and just kind of, we'd be on a bus, like James Harden. That was the biggest player I met. So I'm dropping that name.
Name drop.
Like, just kind of like hanging out, or like Damian Lillard was on this bus with him and he was like rapping, and it was like, this is insane. Like, it was NBA superstar who's just rapping for me. like, what's going on?
That's amazing.
Like, it was bizarre. Like, and then we went to LA with the NBA. I'm not trying to like boast it. I'm just amazed that, like you were saying, like how, my friends back home, it blows their mind when I tell them this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? They're like, you've made it. I'm like, I haven't made it, man. I'm still like trying to get that next big thing. But yeah, I was in LA hanging out with Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. I don't even know these fucking guys' names. I wasn't hanging out with her. She was just in the house. We weren't like shooting the shit.
Oh, the story changed so quickly.
But yeah, I met Khloe twice actually, when she was with James Harden and when she was with Tristan.
How did that happen?
How did
you meet?
Well, I met Chloe with James.
Because you were
First name,
in
but-
on a shoot with him.
on a shoot,
LA,
and she was hanging out. So James Harden was in Shanghai, and Khloe Kardashian was just there.
Oh, in Shanghai. So you met them in Shanghai.
I met James and Chloe in Shanghai, but
Yeah.
I met Chloe and Tristan in LA.
Oh, wow.
I didn't meet Chloe at that point, but it was funny because obviously I didn't actually even see her properly. But like for me, I was like, "Hey, I've seen you before
Yeah.
with a different baller."
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so like in terms of access to like brands and like kind of big opportunities, this is the place to be, right? There's
Definitely.
no way I would have landed. I wouldn't be hanging out with football players in London. Like, there's no way.
And I think it's such a a better and different experience to meet people out here versus meeting them in their own environment.
Yeah.
When you meet them here, they're kind of like, like a friendly foreigner face. Like I can communicate with them perfect English.
Yeah.
Like they kind of are more willing to communicate, and it takes the edge off of like them being famous almost.
Yeah.
Like, cause you're in the bracket of not famous, but it at least creates an immediate connection. Like
Yeah.
if you met Khloe Kardashian in LA, there's a million of you and like just trying to talk to her. But like if you meet her here, it's just, for me, in my experience, it's been so much more of an organic way to start a conversation. Like I've toured around famous skateboarders, and I'm just like so much more comfortable being like having like a true purpose, and maybe that's what it is more so
Yeah.
than anything. Like the purpose and the reason to be talking to them is
Yeah.
what makes the experience different. And better.
No, 100%. I think what everyone does in their kind of human interactions is you want to see value in. This sounds super kind of shallow or just kind of maybe just overanalyzing things, but I do think it's true. Like when you build relationships, there needs to be value in the person you're building this relationship with. If you're a superstar, you don't see value in anyone. But when you're in Shanghai and you see this kid who's like fucking living in Shanghai, like there's the value, right? There's this point of interest that you don't know about.
Yeah.
You have questions for this person. So like that's how I've always seen it. Like you seem, I don't mean value in the sense of like valuable. I mean like there's something that they can gain, some information, some knowledge or something that they can learn from you. So they're more like to engage with you. I remember, again, back to the NBA, I don't know why, but my friend, before I was even in video production, my friend used to work for the social media company, and the NBA was one of their clients at that point. And they had this party with the Clippers, like the LA Clippers and the Heat. So like Dwayne Wade and LeBron all came down, and the whole Clippers team came down, and we just snuck into this party because you could do that back in 2013. And straight up, like we were talking to all these like NBA stars, not the big guns, but all the like, all the other players who weren't the
still play for the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, talking to us. Like one dude was talking to Sophie, and I was like, shit, like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like this guy's a millionaire, and he's like chatting up my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. And then she like called me over, and she was like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend Dan." And I thought he was gonna be a dick. Yeah, no, I know, right? Yeah, exactly. But then no, like straight up, he was like, "Hey, nice to meet you." And this guy was hilarious. I'm not gonna name his name because he dropped the funniest line to me. He was like, "You're from England, man. I love England, but you know what I like more than England? Amsterdam, baby." And I was like,
Damn, he just straight up told his intentions.
yeah, exactly. He's like, "I love it. Don't tell nobody, but yeah, I go there in the off season." And I was like, "That's hilarious."
He's based in England or
No, this guy was playing for the Clippers.
Oh, right.
Yeah, again,
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But like he was like the second string point guard for the Clippers at the time, and he was really nice. And they all were like, everyone was like super chilled. And I don't think it would be like that in London if there was like some social media event and then some dude and his girlfriend were hanging around.
Right.
Like we were both teachers at the time.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get any airtime with like.
Yeah. I'm totally realizing like at first my opinion was, because I live in Shanghai, or no, because like two foreigners are meeting up, like you're going to have a good, meaningful conversation in Shanghai. But now I'm realizing it's more the value thing, as you said, like I've met famous skaters who will continue on a conversation with me because I live in Shanghai, and they're like, they're looking up to me in that fact because they've never left. Like famous skater from Australia, like he comes here to skate, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, whoa, like you left your home country. Like, but I look up to him because he has hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. He's like amazing at skating, blah, blah, blah. So it's so funny how just your perspective and the way you look at things will completely change.
Yeah, man. I think we're in a small, quite a small minority of people who do kind of go out exploring. It sounds kind of conceited to talk about ourselves like as explorers, but
Fuck it.
I've got like very successful friends back home who like, again, are in awe of how much me and Soph have like jumped into the deep end and made careers in a foreign country. They don't know how accessible Shanghai is. They still see it as like this kind of, communist lockdown prison or something weird like that. But yeah, no, like really successful, very, very, very intelligent people are like, can't do it. It takes a special breed, which I'm sure you understand, and you've definitely talked about on this podcast before. It does take this kind of adventurous nature to want to be crazy enough just to go somewhere with like maybe little cash and a dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's an achievement, and I'm hoping that will kind of be a benefit to me when I go back to England. Like that will get me in the door with people. That will spark a conversation, and when you're meeting someone trying to get work, having something to talk about which isn't necessarily job related is important. And China gives you that. Like you can I can tell them about I was hanging with the NBA stars, or you know what I mean, or whatever. Like China definitely gives you, this back catalogue of experiences and stories that people back home will like, or anyone who hasn't done this will be more than willing to like hear you out for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that actually brings me to my final question, which is, what advice would you have for people that are looking to come to China and, start a new life for themselves, start this new career?
The first thing would be to do it.
Just go.
Just go, yeah. Have no preconceptions about anything. I'm trying to think of things that you did mention this before, things that you wish you knew before you came. And to be honest with you, I couldn't really think of anything that I messed up on big enough for it to be, a regret in that sense. Like what I would say about Shanghai is it's a greenhouse for anything you want to do professionally. So I think just making sure you are networking and making sure you're talking to as many people as you can. And actually, I'll tell you what, make as many Chinese friends as you can. It took me like 4 years to actually have like Chinese homies.
Right.
And even my Chinese homies all speak English.
Exactly, dude. I wish I could have picked up my Chinese better as I've been here. I still have time, but it's hard every day.
Yeah. Okay. That's a key thing. That's my main regret is my Chinese ability is like poor to non-existent, right? Basically, my wife learned Chinese, and I've been using her as my translator for ages. I tried as well. I tried super hard in the first 3 months. I was studying, and then I was.
That was your time, Jiaxiang.
Yeah, Jiaxiang, exactly.
Jiaxiang,
yeah.
That should have been your time.
Yeah, no, dude, I had loads of time, and I was like studying, like reading books, doing language exchanges with like my coworkers or whatever. But then I kind of took it to the streets and tried to practice, and that was just like such a blow to the gut. Every time it's being like. I'm sure my pronunciation was dog shit, and like I'm sure I should have stuck at it for longer, but that was too disheartening to carry on. Just
it fucking hurts, man. I hate it. I hate it when they just like look at you like you don't know what you're saying, and I get it. You don't know what I'm saying, but God damn it, like make me feel a little bit better about myself for just trying to learn this new language. I feel like it's so. Do you speak any other languages?
No, man, I don't. I'm a lazy bastard like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the problem for any native English speaking person is like they almost all don't learn a second language.
Dude, I feel bad about it. And like I get a lot of shit from a lot of people, like especially when I was working at Vice, people were like, and justifiably so, were just like giving me shit about how terrible my Chinese was. And like even when I'd have like a little win and like speak a bit of Chinese on a shoot and someone would be like, oh man, your Chinese is dope. My Chinese colleagues would be like, nah, man, he's been here for 7 years. And they were like, oh, we thought he just got here.
Yeah.
But like, I've got friends who moved to South America. I've got friends who moved to like Holland, like, or Italy, or like other European places where the languages are easier to pick up. And guess what? They don't fucking speak the language. Like they don't speak it at all. And they don't even feel guilty about it. They're like, everyone speaks English, man. Why would you like why would you feel guilty about it? Like everyone's doing the language of business is English. That may change in the future. It may be Chinese, but
dude, I think it probably will. in China. Like I think, but you know, at the same time, like they're really trying to make it in China that the two languages that you speak are Chinese and then English.
Yeah.
I think they're enforcing that in schools and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So within our lifetime, I think we don't have a problem with English. Will always be, but it doesn't hurt to have Chinese as number 2 for sure. It's going to tremendously help because there still will be people that don't speak English, or your character, your first impression, like, oh, that person speaks Chinese. Like, damn, I'm going to like communicate better with them.
Yeah. And a lot of businesses here now, like a lot of money comes from China.
Definitely.
Like if you want to work with Tencent and you're from, you know, America or in England, like, and you come out with Chinese, like you're going to win a lot of pitches, basically.
You're going to be one step ahead of the other pitchies.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm definitely going to teach I'm not. My wife will definitely teach our kids some Chinese. Kids are learning Chinese in London. Like that's the thing. That's part of like any private school. They're doing Chinese as a part of the curriculum, which is hilarious. Not hilarious. It's amazing.
I think it's amazing too. In Nigeria, apparently, it's the second language now. Chinese, the second language. Like in elementary school, it's a part of the curriculum to learn Chinese.
Right, there you go, man.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
People are doing that. Yeah. Before we wrap up, do you have any projects that you'd like to share that are coming up, personal? Or
yeah, for sure, man. Me and Charlie from Push are just finishing this 4-part documentary about video games in Japan.
Oh, nice.
Like I'm a massive nerd with video games.
I've been following that a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Charlie's been working on it since last year. I jumped on the project to co-direct a few months ago, and we're really excited about it. It's for Red Bull, which is dope, and it's going through Push. But we both love video games, so we've like sunk our teeth into it so hard. And like the amount of research I've done into, like I know so much about the Japanese video game industry now. It's a joke.
That's amazing.
And I'm hoping that comes through in the documentary. So
awesome. When can people expect to see that?
It should be launched in September.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'll be posting that on my social media. So will Charlie. So will Push.
Yeah, where can people follow you if they want to keep up after the show?
At The Urban Persian is my Instagram, which I need to kind of smarten up a little bit, actually. And that's basically it. The push WeChat
Sweet
account. You can watch my stuff there.
Awesome.
But
Dan, thank you so much for doing the show.
Man.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck back in London.
I'll be back here, man.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah, and I'll see you this Saturday for a nice going away party.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, cheers. Thanks for letting me kind of offload all my China experiences before I go. It's been cathartic.
Great. All right. Thanks,
cheers,
guys.
Dude.
Peace.
Bye.
Boom. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this podcast valuable, there are many ways you can support it. You can rate and review it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, discuss it on your own podcast, or you can support it directly. You can do this by going to my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description. On there, you will find subscriber-only content, like my Ask Me Anything episodes, videos and photos from Shanghai Observed I can't post on Instagram, as well as the bonus questions from many of these interviews. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. Also, if you enjoyed the intro and outro music, it was made by my brother, Danny Greenberg. You can go and check out his beats at soundcloud.com/estoric. ESTORIC. Okay, that's it for now. Peace.